Hello, my lovely. You didn't get to where you are in your business by doing shit the way that everybody else does. And you know that what got you to where you are now is not going to get you to where you want to be. And if you are listening to this podcast, it's because you want to be the go-to for what you do better than anywhere else. Your unrepeatable stack of genius is the niche. Being you, that bold, unfuckwithable presence that you've been secretly craving to set free, she's in there and she's ready to come home. But that means you will have to burn some bridges down. And attracting your fuck yes dreamy clients will also repel those who are not for you. Fucking hooray. Because becoming a force of nature business and brand means no more Miss People Pleaser, no more hiding your turbo brain, no more dimming down jack shit. And if you have ever been told to turn it down as a woman with later life diagnosed ADHD, it is time to tone your shit all the way back up. That is how you create unstoppable momentum in your business and visibility, even though it's something you may have been avoiding. This is how you get it. This podcast is about stepping up into your upgrade because watering down anything never changed the fucking world. You were not born to be forgettable. And as one of my all-time favorite quotes says, well-behaved women rarely make history, and nothing about you or me is well-behaved, at least not anymore. In today's episode, I am taking you behind the scenes. I have been trying to keep my episodes to around 20 minutes, but not this one. There's too much story here, and I had too many things I wanted to say as I'm getting closer to episode 200 of this podcast. It started out as Women Out Loud, became the Anxious Entrepreneur because I thought I had high functioning anxiety and depression, and eventually became the ADHD Entrepreneur once I realized what was actually going on with my brain in 2023. The depression that came from undiagnosed ADHD went away and never came back once I understood what I was dealing with. My anxiety still rides shotgun, but now that I'm 3 years past diagnosis, I know how to tell those squirrels in my brain to sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up. So put this episode on 1.5 or 2 speed if you need to, because most of you listening are going to see yourself all over this episode if you are an entrepreneur with ADHD. I got you. Welcome to my cult. We have stickers. Literally, they're being printed right now for new members of my mastermind. Okay, let's get into it. Welcome back to the ADHD Entrepreneur, the podcast for feral coaches with late diagnosed ADHD who refuse to play by the fucking rules, even if you are a rule follower. On the outside. I am Carrie. I am your host. I am also the chief weirdo of Carrie Out Loud because CEO has always felt a little boring to me for my own title. And I call myself the self-trust whisperer. That's just part of the life coaching side of things that I do here. And my client, Andy, shout out to Andy, gave me the moniker about like 1.5 years ago, maybe closer to 2, that I'm obsessed with. She called me the fairy godmother to all women with ADHD. That's my favorite. If you are new here, I am so glad you found your people. Take a second, check out the trailer. You will be able to hear more of my origin story if you are interested. And if you're not new here, welcome back, you sexy beast. Now, I want you to know that we're going to talk about a variety of topics here today, but the main core of it is taking down walls, personally and professionally. Okay. So we're going to start with a little bit of talking about being late diagnosed, like the response that most women have. With the exception of one woman in my entire coaching career with ADHD, everyone except that one, either in the sisterhood or one-on-one coaching, has had all kinds of feelings come up after the initial relief of diagnosis that they weren't expecting. I know I wasn't. Like, I didn't really have a lot of warning. Nobody warned me. And most of us figure it out in real time, and we figure it out together with other women like us. And if you're listening, you might be newerly. That's not even a word. You might be newly diagnosed. You might have been diagnosed for years. You might have seen a random reel where somebody casually mentioned ADHD in women and your eyeballs got big as saucers because you're like, oh, my whole life might make sense to me. Like when you start realizing, oh, these might be ADHD traits. Um, you may be at the part where you're deep in the rabbit hole and you're connecting the dots from your childhood and relationships and business and emotions and burnout and your nervous system and your habits, all of it. You're in the right place if any of this is sounding familiar to you. And today, I want you to know that I'm like, pardon me, I'm inviting you into my living room a little bit today. I'm literally sitting on my couch recording this, and Oliver's next to me sleeping. I'm looking outside at this beautiful blue California sky and the pool, and at my patio where the little baby Canadian geese and ducks walk across. They just like waddle across randomly, and I go and run and get my camera because they come every year, and I'm like, it's the babies. So I'm sitting on my oversized couch with like this long extension piece, and my legs are stretched out. And I wanted to share more about like my own environment because, I look online and I see people with these big, huge, gorgeous houses, and we just choose to live like in a condo because in California it's like it's just the two of us. We don't need a ton of room. And so we own our own place, and we love to spend our money on, if you've been around long enough, you'll know this, on live music. So this episode is going to be a little bit more stream of consciousness and stream of thought. And like you're sitting here with me while we talk about business and life and ADHD and self-trust and all the weird little things happening underneath the surface that not everybody talks about, but I want to, and I will, because my brand is out loud and I say the inside parts out loud. So you don't have to. You can just listen and nod and go, oh, yes. Or you can say them out loud if you're ready, when you're ready. Before we fully get into it, which is funny because it's 7 minutes here, make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you get a weekly reminder when new episodes drop. Give this episode a 5-star rating. Also, what that does is it lets the algorithm know, hey, more people with ADHD might want to hear this, and it pushes it out more. And if you do want to become an insider in my universe, join my newsletter, The Frequency. It is specifically designed for coaches and female founders in leadership with late diagnosed ADHD. The link is in the show notes. If your brain is like, oh shit, this woman, she seems to really get me, and you're ready to talk about your business with somebody who understands how your brain works, book your clarity call. Like seriously, just come talk to me. Let me ask questions. Let me see what's actually going on in your business and whether I can help. That's it. No weird bro marketing bullshit. It's not my personality. It's not my style. One of my clients said something in a feedback form that was one of the highest compliments I have ever had in my business. She said, Carrie, you're seriously doing the work of a goddess here. Thank you. It's so easy for women. This is what made it so powerful, even though the end is the part that I'm referencing here. It's so easy for women to fall into being competitive with each other because that's what the patriarchy wants us to do. But you help women rise above that. You make genuine connections with your clients and invest deeply in them and in their ideals. This is the part I'm talking about. I'm so thankful I found you, and so thankful I got my head out of my ass and hired you. So why am I reading this to you? So you can pull your head out of your ass and come talk to me, because I work exclusively with coaches and women in leadership. Or if you're a service provider and you work in some kind of coaching or leadership capacity, women with ADHD in business are my hyper focus. You have been since I was 26. It's not going anywhere. It's not changing. But I finally am working in a coaching capacity, even though earlier in my career was more like a mentorship with the jobs. So the businesses that I owned, I would mentor people in that capacity. But now I actually have it in a coaching capacity. And I'm a business strategist. And then I'm also a certified life coach. And what I do is kind of marry those two styles together, not in one day, but because they're two different things. But that's kind of the secret sauce. And the work that I do with my clients is the work I care about the most professionally. I've been obsessed with women in business, like I said, since my 20s. And I get to combine all of this knowledge that I have and filter it through neurodivergence so that it can make sense to your brain. So before we go any deeper, I have a question for you to think about in your mind. I just want you to just close your eyes, unless you're driving. If you're driving, do not close your eyes, please. Ask yourself, does my business feel heavy right now because I am still guarded somewhere? You can change guarded for masked or because I still have walls up somewhere. Are you still performing like an old version of yourself that feels maybe more safe or feels more professional, quote unquote, whatever that means? It's so subjective. Or more polished or more controlled, reserved, edited, etc. than you really are? Are you editing yourself before anybody else has a chance to? Are you watering your shit down so far, even after diagnosis, even after realizing your brain works differently, even after understanding why you felt the way you did, like the weirdo in your room your whole life? Are you still doing these things? Watering your shit down. And I'm not judging here. The reason I can say these two types of women is I've been both. It's funny. There are sides of me that are very rebellious. Dig my heels in. Oh, geez Louise. Yes. And there's the other part of me that is this perfectionistic, like little, I don't even know what the right word is, just like it's not even over functioning. It's like this perfectionistic controlling thing inside, but it's internal. And it's like this feeling, it was like this feeling that I was losing my fucking mind behind the scenes. And this is like that hyper independence portion of the program. It's like, it's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. It's fine. I'm fine. The other F word, the bad one, because we love the good F word. Fine, bad F word, right? This episode at its core is about what happened when my walls came down in my best friendship, and how that related to my business. I was like, oh my gosh, so this is my own walls coming down more in the last few years, because if you listen to the first couple episodes of this podcast ever, 1 and 2, or like whatever, which one's my origin story, I talk about these two friendships that I lost, right? And so I realized by holding back certain parts of myself in certain friendships, or in one particular friendship, made me see, ooh, wow, this really is related to my business. And I also have seen myself at points living in survival mode. And I had been doing it for so long that I didn't even know that was what survival mode was, because it felt normal. It's not. Some of that came from old conditioning. Some of it came from a lot of masking. Some of it was completely self-induced, because when you spend decades trying to stay emotionally safe because you haven't felt safe or taken care of, hypervigilance starts to feel normal, right? That whole like, oh, you feel a shift in someone's energy. Oh, they made a micro change in their facial expression. Oh, you know that feeling of hypervigilance. If you understood what I just said, you know, right? Over the last year, I've also wanted to bring more out in my content and my podcast and feel more unfiltered and unedited. But I also realized that I'm speaking to a slightly different type of client. So we've been listening for a while, and there are like shifts or pivots that don't quite feel like you. You do know you can take what I'm teaching or what I'm sharing and apply it to your field, because there's a lot of things that I teach here overall. But if this isn't for you anymore, I understand. But when I talk about slightly different, it's more like the 100,000-aire or millionaire who wants to stay feral because we don't want to dim that shit. That's what fucking magnetizes clients towards us, is that feralness, just saying shit unfiltered. But also are very serious about being calm in their CEO role. And it is women who are coaches or mentors or in leadership positions. That is truly where I see I'm thriving. And I realize that I want more of my content to feel this way. And also, I realize that I've spent a lot of time calling myself a strategist, a business growth strategist, while mostly coming on this podcast and telling stories about clients and myself and my own life. That's probably because storytelling is how I teach. My brain naturally connects concepts through stories and patterns and like lived experience and analogies. I fucking love a good analogy, right? But I want to bring more of the business strategy element into the podcast because I have 27 years of lived experience where I was undiagnosed and unmedicated, and now I am diagnosed and medicated. I have done both sides of that, which means if clients want to come to me and support themselves through more natural methods, great. I have ways to support you. If they decide they want to come to the other side and they do want to try medication, great. I know how to help them, and everybody in between, right? So I know what I'm talking about when it comes to business growth, whether people are neurodivergent or not. Because if you are not neurodivergent and I help you, your mind's going to be fucking blown because I see solutions where everybody else sees a wall, different kind of wall. And I don't say any of this with any arrogance at all. Like I used to think, oh my gosh, if I said I was good at what I do, that would be arrogance. No, it's only arrogance, in my opinion, if you say something that's not true and say it in a way that's like haughty, right? I say it because it's based in fact. I've been an entrepreneur for half my life. My brain hyper focuses on business, whether I want it to or not. That's also what makes me good, is that I use my hyper focus for the greater good of my clients' businesses, and they feel not just seen or heard, they feel felt in a different way than they have. The ones that are like those die-hard clients. I also don't take much in life seriously. I mean, I definitely have some Jack Black energy while running a business that's like calm, like ruthlessly simplified. I used to think that was a funny mix. Like, you can't have a business that keeps you calm and be feral. Wrong. Yes, you can. You know, I do things in my coaching business that is a little different. Like I use double dog dares sometimes as like a coaching strategy. I just know how our brains work. That's my client, Sandy. Half the time she's like, I can't say no to a double dog dare. And then goes and does the scary thing and realizes it wasn't as terrifying as her brain was telling her it could be. You know, tiger. That's part of why I care so much about this work. I understand how our brains work because I live inside one. And especially after getting COVID a month ago, I don't know, just something shifted. So if you've been listening for a while, you know, I got sick and I fought resting, which is interesting. Like it's like we get to a certain point and sometimes we have to pull back a little and adjust. And I saw that my nervous system was still like in this moment of productivity means you're safe. It's like, no, resting. Resting is what we need. So I finally got quiet enough and I was able to see certain things just more clearly. And one of them was I saw what I was still holding back. I know I've had a lot of episodes where I talk about this, like holding back, this push pull, this masking, like, oh, I'm unmasked. Oh, I think I'm finally da 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 da. And it's like, I think I've got to realize that it's going to be incremental over time. You know, I got here over 52 years. It doesn't undo in just 3 years, but I'll tell you, a lot of it has undone. you know? But I will tell you, I in my life got very good at sharing while keeping certain like emotional walls intact. You know, it's like I could teach, I could support from a place of genuine like love and care and compassion and desire to help people. But I know there were like still parts of me, let's say, staying more carefully tucked behind the scenes, or not saying certain things in content or not showing certain things in stories or wondering if somebody's going to, blah, 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 blah. So there were still like those parts that were kind of tucked away. And I have been learning that being seen for me has felt like here comes a tiger 24/7, 365. Tiger is coming. Tiger is going to eat you. You better sit down and stop. You better stop. I saw this article one time and I can't remember where I read it, but the title of it was No Tiger. And I was like, man, I want to get that as a tattoo. It's a continuous reminder that we don't have to stay in that hypervigilant state. These walls are part of that. To hold a wall up, you have to hold it up. That's hypervigilance, right? So again, seeing it in friendship helped me started seeing it in my business. And I shared that my best friend said, using my own frying pan of love on me, that like my heart was missing from my content right now. And internally I was like, huh, until like I read it, and I was like, oh yeah, I had gotten more technical and more strategic. And, I know the knowledge is valuable, but I've spent years building expertise and investing in myself and learning and studying and helping women grow businesses. Like this is 27 years worth of time. However, the warm, fuzzy part of me kind of drifted more into the background, I think, than I noticed. That's why we have people on the outside looking in because they can see things we're not going to see because, again, we're in the middle of our own shit. So, what's interesting is I started thinking about how many of you are doing the same thing in your business right now. Are you personally, are you showing up online and giving a polished version? Do you have more of that other part of you behind some sort of wall? Are you sharing enough to look open while you're still protecting yourself from something? And it may be a logical thing you're protecting yourself from. It very well may be, but that doesn't mean you necessarily have to keep doing it because your audience can feel that. And I don't even like audience, community. They can feel it. They can feel that. They need more you. And I realized it's connected to my own self-trust gap in friendships from my own personal choices that I made in friendships over the years, over the lifetime. Because guess what's the one factor that's in common in every friendship I've ever had? I'm the one who chose that friendship and chose to stay in it the length I did and chose to allow certain behavior to be okay. I made those choices. I chose the humans and I chose to stay. Those are my choices, right? And then after you spend decades being told directly or indirectly that you're too much or you're too emotional or you're too loud or you're too sensitive or you're too scattered or too intense, too opinionated, too excitable, too all over the place, to tone it down, just tone it down. Shh, tone it down. Oh my God. I was shushed once in a movie theater by somebody who was like a friend of mine, but more a peripheral friend. I got up and walked out. Nope. I'm a fucking grown ass woman. That's a no. But you have that happen long enough to you, including from friends, you eventually learn to filter yourself. And it's like automatic. You don't even realize it's fucking happening until you do. Think about when you started to dull your edges before anybody else gets a chance to reject you. Because survival mode is a sneaky little fucker and it shows up in the strangest ways. And I realized that after losing two of my closest friendships that went back to junior high in 2019, I emotionally shut down in ways I didn't fully understand until probably the last 12 months. Even though I've talked about it, even though I've shared about it, even though I've put it out there, even though I've processed it, I did cord cutting meditation and I was like, oh, wow, yeah, I really hadn't let go. I was like, whoo. And I still had friends, but neurodivergent women have troubles in friendships for a multitude of reasons, but most of them are solved if you have a neurodivergent friendship instead. Finding a person with a brain similar to mine who I could just see and accept exactly as they are, and they do exactly the same for me, is exactly what made me want to open up again to that person as a friend. And that is the other piece that made me want to open up more to my clients. I know a lot of people. I have a huge network. I'm a super connected by nature. If I know a person and I know another person and I think those two people would make great friends, I'll just introduce them in the chat. I'll ask them first, of course, because that's rude. But, that's just how I am designed. I post on my stories about my clients' businesses, whether they're current clients or previous clients. I am their biggest fucking hype woman. Not a cheerleader. Cheerleader is a person who stands on the side and goes, rah, rah, sis, boom, bah. No. A hype woman will talk about you in rooms you're not in. A hype woman is on that road walking with you going, you fucking got this. You're in their corner. It's different. Cheerleader is empty. Hype woman is in your corner. But there were these vulnerable places in me that had quietly closed to protect myself. And then I had this conversation with my friend who is also neurodivergent, and we're both sharing things that are vulnerable and real one day. And I remember sitting there thinking, oh damn, this is what I've been missing. It was like one conversation that pushed up, like opened the last little bit of the floodgate. It was awesome. It was awesome. What's wild is that around the exact same time all of this was happening internally, my business started kind of being seen or found or expanding in ways that felt different than any other time in my business. It's like this momentum that just feels different this year. There's like this feeling in my body because like I am not a generalist. I am a specialist. I've talked about that. And because of that, I know that's part of the reason why. It's part of the reason why. I said at the beginning of the year that 2026 would be my best year yet at the end of the year. I don't know why I said that, but I know I sure as fuck meant it. And I think part of it is because I finally stopped bracing myself against my own life. I stopped trying to stay emotionally safe all the time and stopped filtering myself so heavily and stopped trying to be for everyone. And I stopped rewriting content and captions so many times that they were watered down into fucking internet slop. I know some of you listening know exactly what I mean because you felt it yourself. Sometimes in a business, this isn't strategy, but this is just like the strategist talking. You will work and work and work and work for years. And it feels like you are yodeling into a gully and like nothing is happening. And then I shit you not, something internally clicks and all the things that you have been building start moving at one time. Part of it for me was getting out of my own way by simplifying my business. Part of it was refining offers. Part of it was rebuilding my self-trust even more. But the biggest part of rebuilding my own self-trust was, funny enough, getting coached more deeply and better than I had before, with longer term coaching, with more depth and nuance than I had before, with intention. Not a low ticket coach. And I'm not saying that like, look at me, spend money. No. I'm talking about I pay for expertise. My coaches have both a decade in their fields. I don't fuck around. The thing I love about them too is I am called out. That is a huge part of why I've been able to allow more of myself come into my brand, that my leadership style and my big mouth, we are having fun just playing with more freedom, more room, and more chill. The craziest part is that once I let myself see all of this, my confidence as a coach shifted. For the first few years, my clients were getting results. I also knew, though, there was another level available to them, and I couldn't figure out how to tap into it. I'm like, what am I missing? And part of it was undiagnosed ADHD. The other part of it was once I started truly trusting myself in my business, I let myself make this like one decision that was like a pivotal piece. And it was when my world famous deep dive and getting the full picture of someone's business and brain and pattern and systems and blind spots where I could see that all together at one time. And I did that in 90 minutes. And then I did another, and then I did another, and then I did another. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the fucking thing that's been missing. Nobody told me to do that. But I had enough clarity in my own brain, my own self, that's why it finally clicked in. I prefer coaching in depth. I have had several clients for the last couple of years, seeing their growth path, whether they're still being coached by me or they're somebody who's not being coached by me, because I love paying attention to all that. It's fun. I love it. I love it. Do you personally prefer a coach who wants to go deep or wide? Because once I saw that the depth of what I do for my clients is what makes the difference, and it's the way that they're supported by me, that deep dive became the thing that allowed me to stop coaching surface level, stop coaching surface symptoms, and actually start helping my clients see the patterns underneath everything that was keeping them stuck as fuck. And when that would happen, watch out. Literally, it was like a rubber band pulling back, pulling back, pulling back, pulling back. And then all of a sudden, they shot forward. And I protect my clients' investment. So if they do a deep dive and they want to come to the sisterhood or do one-on-one coaching, they do that because I imply their investment towards that next step if they want to. I want you making decisions from a place of fuck yes, not panic, not pressure. And also having a coach with a brain like yours does truly change things. There is something profoundly healing about sitting across from somebody who speaks your brain's language and doesn't pathologize the way you think. Women in my universe finally stop feeling like they need to like translate themselves or over explain all the time. And they also start having traction in ways they haven't had for months or years. That is the kind of coaching that changes people. And I have stopped pretending that that has nothing to do with me. Yes, it does. My guidance speaks your brain's language. That's why it has to do with me.
not because it's about me at all. It's about you, but it's about you learning in the way that works for you. That's why my coaching helps. That's why it's different. I've seen my clients rebuild confidence, simplify their business, raise their prices, become visible without fear, trust themselves in ways they never have, stop hiding behind overcomplication, stop asking for permission, stop second guessing themselves. And underneath all of it is usually the same thing. They already knew what they were needing to do, but the wall was making it hard for them to hear themselves. This year, I care about visibility in my business because I know how many women are quietly listening from behind their own walls right now. I got an email recently from a woman who left a career and has been listening to the podcast while trying to figure out what comes next in her business. And she said, this is somebody I've literally never met. She said, hearing me talk about ADHD in business and self-trust helped her see that she's allowed to build her business in a way that works for her. And it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks. And that's the whole fucking point. That's the point of this mission. That's the point of this podcast. That's the point of my business. That's the point. Women with ADHD already have a significantly higher risk of so many things: burnout rates, shame, decades spent thinking there was fundamentally something wrong with us. I mean, that'll do a number on a lot of people. Then add to it that we suddenly realized there was never anything wrong with us in the first place, and that we just had a different operating system in our skull the whole time, but that we have spent our whole lives thinking something was wrong with us, and we wish we could be less feral or weird or talkative or awkward to be able to function inside of just the world we live in. Straight up, when my client realizes that, it changes them. And when it changes them, it changes the way that they see things. And when they see things differently and filter it through the truth, it changes them. And getting to help women build businesses and lives that actually fucking fit who they are, instead of them thinking that they constantly have to be in like survival mode, is one of the biggest honors of my fucking lifetime. I love this work. I love the women I work with because I no longer just let anyone hire me. I have to believe in my client's business and see their path forward to business growth based on our initial discussion. And if I don't think I can believe in their business and give it the hyper focus it deserves, I will be straight. Because clear is kind, and I don't do wishy-washy, and I don't want you wasting time if I am not a fit. I love watching somebody go from guarded to and overthinking and questioning every decision to fully standing in their own authority. It's freaking rad. But I only want to do that if I know I can help you. It's unfair. This episode has definitely been a little all over the place than normal, but I wanted you to see that somebody who's feral with this kind of energy most days, because some days I have potato days, as a human who swears, as a woman who still has anxiety and still overthinks sometimes and still catches myself slipping into old patterns sometimes, and also no longer wants to spend my life emotionally bracing against being seen and perceived because I might be misunderstood. Missing out on the clients who truly want to be here and need what I offer is the thing that gets me out of my own fucking way. And I want that for you too. So before this episode ends, I want you to do one thing for yourself that is not some giant homework assignment. It's literally like one tiny thing. Go have one conversation with somebody with zero intention of where it could go. Start getting to know people outside of your current sphere. Have a conversation where you let one wall come down a little bit with somebody you already know. Have a conversation where you stop trying to polish your words or sound a certain way. Be a fucking human and let yourself be seen for a second. You don't need to have some big, giant, dramatic, emotional confession either. Something as simple as replying to somebody's Instagram story instead of sending like a fire emoji, It could be texting with a friend, something real that you've wanted to say instead of thinking you have to like stay in performance mode. That's what I did. I'm so fucking glad I did that. Start as simple as admitting you're tired or you're excited or you're hopeful or, something connective with somebody you want to genuinely connect with, by the way. Don't make it contrived. Connection does not start with perfectly crafted content. It starts when somebody finally fucking feels you and you feel them back. I get that a lot of us have been spending so long surviving that we forgot how badly we actually want to be known. And no matter how big your business is, whether you're a thousandaire or 100,000aire or a millionaire, where can you let yourself be more known? Ask yourself that today, too. And with that, I will end today's episode. I have given you a shit ton of calls to action today, so no need to do that here at the end. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to a longer episode. We'll be back to our normal 20-ish minutes next week. I see you. I got you. Go do this one thing for connectivity. Pull the wall down just a smidge, okay? Okay. I'm rooting for you always. Bye. Oh, hey, you're still here. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. Be sure to check out the show notes for all the ways to follow me. And of course, my goal is to find and help as many women with ADHD get away from the 9-to-5 grind, because it's just not designed for our neurospicy brilliance, and there are other ways to do life. So by subscribing, sharing, and giving a 5-star review, it helps other women find this podcast as well. And if there's an episode you really love, please feel free to take a screenshot and share it on your social and tag me in it so that I can thank you personally. Until next time, you spicy brained unicorn. Bye.